The Battle of the Pyramids, also known as the Battle of Mbaba, was a major engagement fought on July 21, 1798, during the French invasion of Egypt. The battle took place near the village of Mbaba, across the Nile River from Cairo, but was named by Napoleon after the Great Pyramid of Giza visible nearly 9 miles away. After taking Alexandria 3 weeks earlier, the French army clashed with the Mamluks. The Mamluks were the de facto rulers of Egypt and only recognized the Ottoman Sultan as a figurehead. Murad Bey was the supreme commander of the Mamluk army, and Ibrahim Bey was Murad Bey's second-in-command. The strength of the two armies is disputed. According to historians, the French army had 25,000 men, while the Mamluk army had a total strength of 50,000 Mamluks and irregulars. The Mamluks were a cavalry-based army known for their fearsome charges. The French army, on the other hand, was a well-trained and disciplined force armed with muskets and cannons. They were led by Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the greatest military commanders of all time. The French used a variety of tactics in the Battle of the Pyramids, including the divisional square, the use of artillery, mobility, and surprise. The divisional square was a new tactic devised by Napoleon. It was a massive rectangular formation of infantry with artillery in the center. The infantrymen stood shoulder to shoulder and held their muskets at the ready. The artillery was used to fire grapeshot at the charging cavalry, and the infantrymen used their muskets to fire volleys. The divisional square was very difficult to break and proved to be a decisive factor in the French victory. The French also had a significant advantage in artillery over the Mamluks. They used their artillery to bombard the Mamluk lines before the battle and also to fire grapeshot at the charging cavalry. The artillery fire caused a lot of casualties among the Mamluks and helped to weaken their morale. The French were also more mobile than the Mamluks. They were able to maneuver their troops quickly and efficiently, and they were able to take advantage of the terrain. The Mamluks, on the other hand, were a more traditional cavalry army and were not as mobile. Finally, Napoleon caught the Mamluks by surprise. The Mamluks were expecting the French to attack them in Cairo, but Napoleon instead attacked them near the pyramids. This gave the French a significant advantage and contributed to their victory. The Mamluks were a medieval army that relied on skilled cavalrymen armed with swords and heavy armor. This was evident in an incident that happened during the Battle of the Pyramids. A Mamluk horseman wearing heavy armor approached the French lines and challenged them to a duel. This was a traditional challenge among knights, but the French did not accept it. They opened fire on him, killing him. This incident illustrates the gap between the two armies. The Mamluks were stuck in medieval traditions, while the French were more modern and prepared for war. The French had adopted new tactics and technologies, such as the divisional square, which gave them a significant advantage over the Mamluks. The casualties of the Battle of the Pyramids are disputed. The French claimed to have lost only 29 killed and 260 wounded, while the Mamluks were said to have lost 10,000 killed and 20,000 captured. However, some historians believe that the French losses were higher, and that the Mamluks lost even more men. Murad Bey, the leader of the Mamluk army, was killed in the battle, along with his second-in-command, Ibrahim Bey. The deaths of these two men effectively ended the Mamluk military power in Egypt. The Battle of the Pyramids was a major turning point for both the French and the Mamluks. For the French, the victory was a huge morale boost. It showed that they were a force to be reckoned with, and it helped to convince the French people that Napoleon was the man to lead them to victory. The battle also opened the way for the French to establish a presence in the Middle East, which was one of Napoleon's goals. For the Mamluks, the defeat was a disaster. It effectively ended their rule in Egypt and led to a period of instability and chaos in the country. The Mamluks were eventually driven out of Egypt by the Ottomans and never regained their former power. Like and subscribe for more great content.